Red and blue lights washed over my driveway like a bad nightclub, and the woman from the homeowners association was literally pointing at my chest like I was a criminal on my own property. The officer's hand hovered near his radio while she shouted, "Arrest him! He's trespassing!" Then I looked up at my front door and saw it, a bright red padlock that I did not put there. My name's Ethan Parker, and I live in a quiet little pocket outside Willow Creek, one of those neighborhoods where the lawns are too perfect and everyone waves like they're auditioning for a brochure. I'm not a loud guy, I don't start drama, and I definitely don't go looking for fights with bored people holding clipboards. But there's always that one person who thinks a title turns them into a tiny dictator. In my neighborhood, that person was Melissa Crane, the president of the HOA, the kind of Karen who talks through her teeth and smiles like she's doing you a favor while she's threatening you. It started small, like it always does. A notice taped to my mailbox. All caps, bold letters, official looking, seal violation, unapproved. Exterior modifications, pay association dues or face enforcement. I remember staring at it and thinking, wait, what dues? Because here's the thing, my house isn't in their HOA. Never has been. My place sits on a parcel that predates the subdivision. And when the neighborhood expanded years ago, my land didn't get folded into their rules. So I did what a normal person does. I called the number polite calm, trying to clear it up like a grown-up. Hey, I think this is a mistake. I'm not part of the homeowners association. Melissa didn't even pause. Yes, you are, she said, like she was correcting a child who called a dog a cat. I told her again, slower this time. No, I'm not. And she actually laughed, one of those little laughs that's half amusement, half warning. You live in Maplewood Ridge, she said. That means you follow our rules. I replied. I live near Maplewood Ridge, she snapped back. Same thing. After that call, I started getting letters. Not one or two, an actual stack. Final notice. Immediate compliance required. Hearing scheduled. Every envelope looked more serious than the last, like they were escalating font size instead of legality. And Melissa. She started showing up in person, not stepping onto my porch, not exactly just close enough to be irritating. Standing by the edge of my driveway, holding her phone like she was documenting wildlife, staring at my house like it belonged to her. One afternoon, she waved me down while I was taking the trash out. You can still fix this, she said, all syrupy. Pay what you owe and we'll stop the enforcement. I told her I don't owe you anything. She leaned in, a little eyes sharp. People who resist usually regret it, she whispered, quiet enough that it wasn't for the neighbors. It was for me. I tried to shrug it off. I really did. I told myself she'd get bored, or someone in her board would realize she was wasting time, or reality would eventually slap her across the face. Instead, she called the police. I came home on a bright, normal morning and saw a patrol car parked like it owned the place. A couple of neighbors had that I'm pretending to check my mail, but I'm actually watching a show posture, and Melissa was right there at the center of it, practically vibrating with excitement. The officer stepped toward me and said, "Sir, we got a call about a trespasser." Before I could answer, Melissa cut in loud and proud. "He's not in the HOA, he doesn't belong here, and he's been threatening the board." I blinked. "Threatening," I said. "I've barely spoken to any of you." She spun toward the officer and pointed at my driveway like it was evidence. "He's trespassing on homeowners association land." I actually laughed for half a second. Then I realized nobody else was laughing. The officer wasn't amused, he was cautious, eyes moving between us like he was trying to decide who was lying and who was about to do something stupid. I raised my hands a little, palms open. "Officer, I live here," I said. "I own this property." Melissa rolled her eyes so hard it was basically a performance. "He's lying," she snapped. "He's trying to intimidate us." Then she said the sentence that made my stomach drop. "We already handled it," she told the officer. "We locked him out this morning." And that's when I saw it, an ugly, bright red padlock hanging from my front door handle like a scar. My front door, my house. My key didn't fit it because of course it didn't, because I didn't put it there. For a moment I honestly didn't even feel anger. I felt exposed, violated. Like someone had walked into my life and moved the furniture just to prove they could. "Who put that on my door?" I asked, and my voice came out lower than I expected. Melissa lifted her chin. "I authorized it." The officer's eyebrows jumped. "Ma'am, you can't lock someone out of their residence," Melissa snapped. "It's not his residence if he's not supposed to be here." I stood there on my own driveway under the weight of the patrol car lights with my neighbors watching, and I felt this horrible doubt creep in. Not because I thought she was right, but because I started wondering if I'd missed something. Like, what if there was some paperwork I didn't know about? What if someone filed something years ago and I never caught it? What if I'd been living in a legal gray zone and this was the moment it all snapped shut? That doubt was quiet, but it was poison. It made me hesitate. It made me think for one humiliating second. Maybe it'd be easier to just pay to just make her go away to stop being the target. Then Melissa stepped closer and hissed, "You should have moved when I told you to." And suddenly the doubt wasn't doubt anymore. It was rage, cold and clean. I walked to my car, reached into the glove compartment and pulled out the folder I keep for exactly this kind of nightmare deed copy survey map county, records the whole boring stack that nobody cares about until someone tries to steal your reality. Melissa slapped the folder out of my hands like she was swatting a fly. Papers scattered across my driveway. "See?" she yelled at the officer. Aggressive, unstable. I didn't lunge, I didn't shout, I just stared at her like, "Wow, you really did all this and thought nobody would push back." I bent down, picked up the papers one by one, and handed the top page to the officer. "This is the deed," I said. "This parcel is not under the HOA." The officer read it, and his expression changed, not dramatic, just focused. He asked me for my ID, asked for the property address, and stepped back to his radio to verify. Melissa kept talking the whole time, filling the air with garbage. "He printed that today," she said. "He's forging documents." Then she turned to me and said loud enough for the neighbors, "You're going to jail." The radio crackled. The officer listened, nodded once, and walked back with a look that made Melissa's smile twitch. "Ma'am," he said, "county records show this property is privately owned, and it's not part of Maplewood Ridge Homeowners Association." He paused, then added, "Also, who told you that you could lock someone out of their home?" Melissa's face went tight. "It's an enforcement action," she said fast. "We have protocols." "Protocols aren't law," the officer replied. And right then another vehicle rolled up unmarked calm, like the adult walking into a room full of kids fighting. A man stepped out, mid-40s, plainclothes badge clipped at his belt. Detective Daniel Reyes. He looked at my door, then at Melissa, then at the officer like he was taking inventory. "What's the situation?" he asked. Melissa switched into a sweeter voice like she was flipping a light switch. "Detective, thank God you're here. This man has been harassing our board, refusing to comply." Detective Reyes raised a hand. "Ma'am," he said, not loud, just firm, "I asked for facts." I pointed at the door. "That lock wasn't there this morning," I said. "Someone put it on my house." Reyes crouched by the lock and read the little tag on the key ring hanging from it. "Private security company," he murmured. He stood up and looked at Melissa again. "Did you hire someone to secure a door on property you don't own?" Melissa's mouth opened, closed, opened again. "The Homeowners Association." "No," Reyes cut in, and his tone sharpened, just enough to make the street go silent. "You don't get to hide behind a board. Did you do it?" Melissa's cheeks flushed. "I authorized it," she snapped, like repeating it would make it legal. The officer exhaled through his nose. Reyes turned slightly toward him. "That's unlawful entry and interference with residents," he said, plain as day. I pulled out my phone and with hands that were still shaking a little opened the security footage. "I have video," I said. Melissa's head whipped toward me. "You can't record." "It's my property," I said. "Remember, on the screen, clear as daylight, you could see Melissa on my porch that morning, gesturing like she owned the place while a guy in a uniform clicked the padlock shut. You could even hear her laugh, short, satisfied, like she was proud of herself." A neighbor behind me sucked in a breath. Another one muttered, "She did something like this to the Thompsons, I swear." And suddenly it wasn't just my word against hers anymore, it was a pattern trying to crawl out into the sun. Detective Reyes held out his hand. "Ma'am," he said, "turn around." Melissa's confidence evaporated so fast it was almost funny almost. She started sputtering, pointing at the officer, pointing at me, throwing out words like misunderstanding and authority and community standards. The officer clicked the cuffs on and Melissa let out this loud, offended shriek like reality had personally insulted her. "I run this neighborhood," she shouted. Reyes didn't even blink. "No," he said. "You've been abusing it, As they guided her toward the patrol car, her phone slipped from her hand and hit the pavement. The screen lit up, and I saw it, messages in a group chat with board members, lines like, "Tell them he's dangerous, and make an example of him, and if cops show up, act scared." Reyes saw it too. His jaw tightened. He looked at the officer and said quietly, "Add it to the report." Melissa twisted around, eyes wild now, and screamed my name like it was a curse. "You did this!" she yelled. I didn't move. I just looked at her and said, calm as I could manage, "No, Melissa, you did." The patrol car door shut, and the sound was final, like a stamp on a document she never bothered to read. And as the lights rolled away down the street, I stood there staring at that stupid red padlock on my door, thinking about how close I came to doubting myself, and how fast a community turns into a weapon when the wrong person grabs the handle. Lesson: if you don't know your rights, someone like Melissa will happily rewrite them for you.